Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. This is episode 37, and my name is Rachel Picard. I am your host, and today is our second part of the emotional stability series. We did about a week ago, uploaded on episode 34 about emotional stability and the importance of leading healthy and productive organizations. And we talked about that emotional leaders exhibit many traits, including self-awareness, self-regulation, and personal motivation. Well, there's two other things when it comes to emotional intelligence, and this is the episode where we dive right in. And when we coached this just earlier, the leaders that were listening were having breakthroughs, like truth bombs, like fireball emojis. People were just unbelievably having huge epiphanies when it comes to how their emotional stability affects them in all relationships, but especially in business and in network marketing. Network marketing is leadership, nothing more and nothing less. If you're brand new to this podcast, make sure that you follow, subscribe, hit those 5-star rating, and leave a review. I'd like to recognize one of our subscribers, Bon Girl, who says, "What insight? 5 stars." She says in her review, "Yes, Rachel, you're so right. You have really grown in your leadership skills and you're spot on with it's an inside job. That inner world is so important, and I'm excited to hear more in the future from your leadership style. I believe your new podcast could produce a new breed of social butterflies, the kind that bring good news wherever they land. Those butterflies will be dressed in the shoes that bring the gospel of peace, the belt of real truth, and the crown of victory. Great podcast. May your life teachings continue to be like a heavenly present to us all, wrapped in a garment, unfolded in the mystery, and robed in majesty." Karen Ann. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate that wonderful, glowing, and really generous review. Guys, I think you're really going to like this episode. It is pretty short, moderate, medium-ish, but so full of truth. If you're listening right now or towards the end and you love it, do me a favor and take a screenshot, tag me on social media, let me know your biggest takeaway. And as always, if you'd like for me to train your organization, if you can put 25 people on a Zoom, I'd be happy to oblige. Just inquire and email me at asksoulceo@gmail.com, asksoulceo@gmail.com. Tell me a little bit about your team, what you'd like from me, and I'll get back to you personally. Appreciate it, guys, and enjoy the show. When we're talking about emotional stability or moving into like emotional intelligence, I want to give you guys just a bit of a preference because now we're really getting into the throes of some of the deepest, darkest, gnarliest parts of your personality that we would rather not admit, right? Like we just heard, like Patty's like, "Anybody who knows me," right? So like when we see this, we recognize it. And I want you guys, when you are hearing this information and you're getting these trainings, I want you to show up. But show up not in the sense of just being here, but show up fully present to take it in. And I want you to pay attention that as you're taking notes on all of this stuff that we're dealing with, that you catch yourself either making excuses of why you do things. I'm Italian, so that's why I'm hot-blooded and hot-tempered, right? Well, I'm just, such and such. Well, I'm just Greek. That's why I'm loud. A lot of people use their nationality or like ethnicity for something. Well, I'm just this, so that's why I'm that. Well, I was abused. That's why I lash out. That is what I call toxic authenticity, right? And there's a form of like self-deception, is a form of I'm not taking ownership of who I am, how I feel, what I do, and how it affects you. You just need to take it. And then when we hear information that's advice, another form of self-deception is we think, "Oh yeah, that's not for me. I got that. I'm good. I'm great. I'm 100 out of 100. I'm an A+ student. I'm a 5-star rating," right? Oh yeah, when we get into things like empathy, yeah, I'm a super empathetic person. Oh, really? Okay. Next time you teach the class, okay? We all can grow here. So instead of thinking, "Hey, I wish such and such was on this call to listen to it," that's been my fault. There's just so many times back in the day, I'd be in like church on a Sunday. Your favorite little heathen sitting in church. And I'm sitting there with my Bible and I'm hearing the pastor preach, right? And the pastor's like really getting into it and talking about like how we need to repent or change or anything like that. And all I could be thinking about is somebody in my life, ooh, I wish they were in this meeting right now. I wish they were in this sermon right now. And man, if they came to church, they could really be transformed by this. And now I'm like, oh, but I'm here today. I'm in the meeting. I'm on the call. You're on the call. You're hearing this today for a reason. So instead of thinking, I don't need this, or I got that, or they need this, suspend your judgment and tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. Suspend your judgment and tell yourself the truth. Chances are we all need to we need to all grow on this. So the first three aspects of that emotional, intelligent, emotionally stable leader was self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. Number 4, hint, I said it before, empathy. Empathy is the true mark of a mature leader, an emotionally grounded leader, a heart-driven leader. What is empathy? Empathy, by definition, is the ability to understand the emotional needs of others and to treat them accordingly. Empathetic leaders are good at developing and retaining talent. They're great at service. They're great at managing all the different dynamics, especially guys when you start building a cross-cultural business. Being able to recognize everybody's emotional needs. Now, we had one of our leaders earlier today. She was sharing her roller coaster with one of her top talents. And a great mark of empathy that she displayed and that we all must display is to understand that each person that we are leading inside of our organizations, they are all coming to us in a different level of fear, doubt, insecurities, dilemmas, past pain, bondage, brokenness, abuse, neglect, abandonment, idiosyncrasies, quirks, talents, victories, skills. There are different levels. There are different parts of their journey. If you're in chapter 9 right now of your chapter 50 network marketing book encyclopedia, we cannot and shouldn't look at those in chapter 1 or 2 or 3 with dismay, with disgust. And that's all too often, it's a common dilemma as a leader, right? We start feeling good. We now have confidence. Remember when you guys started having confidence prospecting? Do you guys remember when that flipped for you? Maybe it was overnight. Maybe it was like over a course of several months or years. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can do anything that I want to do to put my mind to it. And then you have like these newbie talents, newbie teamies coming onto the organization and they're freaked out. And you're like, why aren't you getting this? It's only your mom. It's only your grandma. It's only a post on Facebook. And somehow we forgot chapter 1 through 8. We're so set in chapter 9. We're so set at the place that we've gotten to that we have somehow Control-Alt-deleted the painful journey that it took us there. So empathy is really understanding the emotional needs. It's meeting the person. The wellspring of empathy, the bedrock, the foundation, the life-giving waters of empathy is humility. It is humility. It is not seeing yourself better than anybody in your organization. Just because you might have a bigger check or a bigger rank or further down the line. There is a reason why in Team Heart we created a slogan that says everyone matters and everything matters. Now on the surface, everyone matters, everything matters is talking about a safe place in network marketing, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, performance, background. You matter. And then everything matters is being like, hey, this is integrity. We do what we say we're going to do with excellence and diligence. We treat people with respect, but it's really about humility. Nobody's higher than the others. And it's removing that self-serving spirit that allows us to be empathetic. There's a great quote by one of a great selling author. His name's John Connor. And in his book, he wrote this quote, and I loved it. Great leaders win over the hearts and the minds of others. Great leaders win over the hearts and minds of others. See here the key, you know what the key there that there is? The key is that heart comes before the mind. See, he didn't say great leaders win over the minds and then the hearts of those that they lead. He says great leaders win over the hearts first, then the minds. It's the heart connection to people that moves them. If you guys go to the heart, you'll get their mind. And empathy does that. It's seeing them where they are, who they are, and what they can be. It's seeing them bigger and better than they can be. It's putting a 10 on their forehead when they see themselves as a 2. It's understanding that network marketing is really personal development wrapped around a product and a comp plan. And that all of us come in with a lot of baggage, and we can be that person to see them, to believe in them. So when we think about empathy, how does that display? One of the biggest things is listening and serving. A truly emotionally intelligent leader with empathy is going to listen and it's going to serve. In fact, guys, this is my first goal in mentoring. It's my first goal in training and in my first goal in all communication. On a lot of my calls, you guys, we've done them together. One of my first questions, what can I help you with today? How can I serve you? The famous adage that people will forget what you said and did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. We got to go to the heart because relationships is the foundation of leadership. It's everything. That's what leadership is. It's relationships. Without relationships, it's management. It's involuntary. It's pressure. But true influence comes from relationships. So the first goal of mentoring, training, communication is letting them know how much you care. Not letting them know how much you know. It's letting them know how much you care. I wrote down this great quote, 2 great quotes. Why heart is truly the foundation and empathy of being an emotionally stable and emotionally intelligent leader. Touch a heart before asking for a hand. I was like, I got to put that on my wall somewhere. I'm like, that's so cute. Touch a heart before you ask for a hand. Or how about this one? Loving people before leading them. You want to have great influence team on your organization? Your people got to know that you care. Now you can fake it, but remember what I told you. Inside out leadership, 6 months from now, you're going to need a new team because they're going to figure it out. They're going to see past it. So how do you empathize with people? How do you become understanding to their emotional needs? How do we become humble? How do we begin loving people? A lot of it is the foundation of really giving up the things that have hurt you in the past. It's forgiveness. Forgiving others that have hurt you, forgiving yourself. I always say that forgiveness is the sweetest thing. When you forgive others and have an air of forgiveness for you, an air of grace, an air of respect, when you can get rid of the past bondage, then you can start to see people for better than they are. There's a great book on leadership. I highly recommend it, on Nelson Mandela, called Mandela's Way. It's so good. Brian's like, yes, it is such a good book. Nelson Mandela considered himself a very average human that was able to lead because of, an ordinary human that was able to lead because of extraordinary circumstances. And one of the things that was criticized consistently, and you'll read about it in this book, that Nelson was consistently criticized for seeing too much of good in people. He was constantly criticized because he always saw the good in people. My friends, there are so many leaders that too often see the bad in people. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was all about managing and creating culture. And this gentleman came across a barista at the Four Seasons. And he was so impressed. In fact, everyone at the Four Seasons, said was just incredible. Like, hello, how are you? Hello, sir. Hey, welcome to the Four Seasons. What can I do for you? Like, he was just impressed. Have you guys ever been to a resort like that? Ever been to a resort where somebody's just it's like, wow, everyone is so happy to work here. And this guy was so impressed by his coffee experience. He's like, I think I tipped my coffee. I tipped 100% because this kid was just on it. He was just so happy. You could tell he loved his job. And so inquiring, being a leadership, expert, this guy's like, why are you so happy? Why do you love what you do? What do you love about working at the Four Seasons? And without a beat, without a second, he said, every day, managers come walking by, my managers, other managers, and they ask me, how are you doing? Hey, how's it going today? Hey, is there anything I can help you with? Hey, how's it going in here? How you feeling? What's up? He goes, and it's interesting because I also work part-time at, I think he said the MGM or something like that. I work part-time somewhere else, another big resort. And he goes, and it's so different there. It's like, really? How so? He goes, the managers at MGM, they always seem to see you when you do something wrong. They always seem to notice you when you're making a mistake or where there's some stuff on the ground next to you and you didn't get to it yet. They come in right away for the kill to recognize you and what you're doing wrong. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an incredible lesson of empathy, the ability to understand somebody's emotional needs, that the people that we are leading, they need to feel loved, appreciated, seen, heard. They get enough beaten down. Now, I will tell you guys, this has not always been easy for me. And I said it numerous times. I'll say it again. I preach from my weakness. But there was a flip for me, and there's been a transformation over time because I found myself, how many guys love getting criticized? Oh yeah. Jean's laughing. Gwen's like, no, not even a little bit. Then why do we criticize others? Why are we so quick to say you're doing this wrong? Take that down. Da-da-da. What are you doing? It's like, no. How can we lift our people up? How can we build them up? How can we touch a heart before asking for a hand? Write this down. When your people know that you care for them, they will move mountains for you. They will move mountains to you. Yeah, Amanda just put in the chat, how to win friends and influence people. Principle 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. I almost feel like that book should be mandatory reading for everybody in this team. Yearly, annually. Because I forget. I need that checkup from the neck up. That's why I do my spiritual practice every day, because I am a broken, gnarly, selfish, impatient, ridiculous human, a little brat. And so every morning I have to start my day literally giving myself an emotional and spiritual lobotomy. Otherwise, that sharp tongue, that impatience, that selfishness is going to go shat on everybody else. And I'm guessing that you are no different. I'm guessing that if you don't take up and shore up yourself or begin to do so, your impatience, your condemnation, your conflict is just going to shat on every single else. So how can I help you? How can I serve you? Seeing people better than they are, seeing their emotional needs, touching them, loving them in a non-sexual harassment sort of way. Okay, number 5 is social skill. Social skill. Now, social skill is not just friendliness. Social skill is proficiency. Social skill is managing relationships. It's developing network. It's building rapport. It's finding common ground. It's using soulful persuasion to get somebody that you're leading out of their own way so that they can get to their promised land. It's using the power of communication and connection to elicit change. So with emotional intelligence as a leader, developing, obviously, we talked about your awareness, your regulation, your motivation, your empathy, but your social skill. If on the next year, if all you did, you're like, I'm not taking another TikTok class. I'm not learning about LinkedIn. I'm not going to research the product one more iota. I don't need to understand the patent language, but I'm going to study self-awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skill. You will not recognize yourself a year from now. You won't recognize your confidence. You won't recognize your assuredness. You won't recognize your patience. You won't recognize your influence. You won't recognize, you're like, I heard in the chat, I don't know what it was, who just shared in the chat a few minutes ago, somebody saying, I had a horrible day. I think it was Angie. I had a horrible day, but I was just saying, I didn't lose it. I'm changing. I'm growing. That's what I want for you. Social skills is connection, is communications, is patience. And write this down. It's understanding that people are your most important asset. For the first 10 years of my network marketing career, I strived to be the top recruiter. In the last 5 years, I've strived to be the top keeper. Now, I still recruit a ton. I've recruited like 500 people in 5 years. But I'm more interested in keeping. I'm more interested. I know that my ability to retain good talent starts with me. It starts with being intentional of the culture, top down, and the example that I set for you. It's me showing up after I'm tired. Where are my introverts at? Where are my empaths at? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Where I spend 4 or 5 hours a day on calls, pouring, giving, loving, and then some of those days when everything hits the fan, where I couldn't possibly imagine another message hitting my inbox of something else going wrong. You should see the WhatsApps I'm in. I'm like, oh my word. So I'm like, I'm ready to quit all these committees. I'm like, I just don't even want to know anymore. And then that final mentoring call with the little girl on the roller coaster. And I had to check myself that am I showing up for that person with love, patience, grace, respect, belief, the 10 on their forehead? Or have I let everything else that is frustrating me in my life, in my business, in my personal, in my health, whatever, Am I letting that shortchange my ability to transform? It's emotional intelligence at its peak. It's realizing that that person is my most important asset. Guys, write this down right now. What is the number one thing that you own? The number one most important asset, thing, car, house, a ring, whatever it is. Like, what's the most important thing that you have? The thing that if you lost it, you would be devastated. Maybe it's a person. I don't know. Like, just probably, just think about things. I want you to think of something possession-wise, not a person. It's probably a better example. Think of a possession. And then I want you to amplify that by 1,000. That's how you should treat the least of these in your team. I know, it's so funny. All the horse people are like, my ponies. Team Equine is here, ready